Ismu Syakina Aina binti Syakri.
Hi, my name is Nisha.
Hi, my name is Ifa Fasiham.
My name is Naakila Binti Zaid.
Hi, I'm Muhammad Yushal Halmi Basuki.
Hi, my name is Anis Hanani.
What is... My God. This one's waited long enough.
Just an absolutely gorgeous day here at Evans Field. The Phillies have managed to tie it up at 4-4. Pete leans in. Here's a pitch. Swung on. A line to right. And it gets past Rizzo.
Moving on to the meaning of cryonic. So cryonic is a practice of freezing a person who has died of a disease in hopes of restoring life at some future time with a cure for every disease that have been developed. Okay, so this means that once a person dies, they will preserve the body of the corpse and will hopefully to revive it at one point when the medical science has further improved. If you look at the slide, there are 3 persons that I have posted in this slide: Robert Attinger, James Bedford, and Nelson. So Robert Attinger is the father of the cryonics. James Bedford is the first person to preserve for cryonics, and Robert Nelson is one of the person that helped James Bedford being cryopreserved. So Professor Jameson, who decided to launch himself into space after he died, was influenced by an eccentric billionaire. He believed that he will be revived at one point due to the low temperature at the space. So, in 1965, there was nobody to up free offer on cryopreservation. However, James Bedford volunteered to be cryopreserved in 1966 in his late 60s when he was diagnosed with cancer. So he decided to take up on the chance to be cryopreserved. However, Robert Nelson, who was once cryopreserved James Bedford, was sued for a disaster called Chatsworth disease that causes 9 cryopreserved people to thaw out. So this disaster has taught some valuable lessons to any companies that decided to try business on cryopreservation, because they will need a lot of precautions for their patients. So aside from that, there are not many institutes that last long enough due to the cost of the services. I in my presentation, there are a few pictures that highlights what is cryonics about. So there are Cryonics Institute, alcohol company that have last long until now for cryopreservation experiment. So they also offer on organ preservation, even your pets itself. So moving on with another member's presentation. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Muhammad Yushal Halmi Basuki, and basically I'm gonna talk about the purpose of this whole case study. So for the first one is we need to figure out whether this whole process of cryonic is possible or not. For the second one is we need to determine whether this whole method of freezing human body can affect another aspects or not, aside from bringing someone alive back from death. For the third purpose is we need to discover the background of the process, whether it is ethical or not, and does it fall out of humanity's moral compasses.
Before we figure out what will happen to the human body in cryonics, let's take a look into one of the most important processes in the human body, which is homeostasis. Homeostasis is the body's ability to maintain physiological favorable internal environments, even as external conditions, which undergoes dramatic shifts, that will be lethal to individual cells, meaning the body's automatic tendency to maintain a constant internal environment when dealing with external changes. Now, example of a homeostasis are thermoregulation, osmoregulation, glucose regulation, and excretion. All of these are very important to the body, as such terms like the hypothalamus regulates temperature and osmotic pressure. Next, kidney maintain water balance. Furthermore, blood distribute heat throughout the body. Moreover, the pancreas will regulate blood sugar, and the evaporation of water helps to regulate the body temperature. Now, here comes the question. What will happen to the human system when cryonics is occurred? Firstly, the cells will malfunction as the body changes drastically. Secondly, when the cells all malfunction, tissues will stop producing new tissues. Next, organ will starting to become weak and eventually malfunction, as it will lose its strength and shape. And finally, in the system, homeostasis fail. When homeostasis fail, all system will shut down due to frostbite. Therefore, thermoregulation will take place. When it's too cold, constriction of blood vessels will occur.
Next, I'm gonna continue the presentation with my next topic, which is the disadvantages of cryonic. Although cryonic has its own benefits and rewards, it does have its own downsides too, which can give us the negative impacts. First, cryonics can or will definitely cost a lot. What I mean is, this whole process of preserving and freezing human body will require a lot of money, and according to cryonics.org, it can cost up to $200,000, which is a crazy and mental amount for such process to be executed. Second, the cryonic process has its own possibility to cause harm on one's brain. Yes, sure, you might think that this entire process might work, but it works imperfectly. Rather than waking up as your previous self, one might suffer unconsciousness and trapped in some uncontrollable phone or stream due to the heavy damage on the brain, and this can be such a torture for the one suffering. The third point is the cryonic process disrupts the natural life cycle. If we really think about it, cryonic kinda brings us to another thought process about the definition of life and the meaning of death. If the entire process does work, which is highly unlikely, do we have to live for 500 years, 1,000 years, or we have an option to die at some point, or we basically do not experience death at all? So we never know, but I think that kinda ruins the whole point of life. The final disadvantage of cryonic is it's not capable of stopping aging human cells. Although it can basically halt all the biological processes and preserve tissues, it does not give us the guarantee that the aging human cells can be stopped, which I think kinda makes the whole process pointless. So yeah, that's basically it. And we, as people, we need to be made aware of cryonic's risks in order for us to not get exploited.
So, what is cryopreservation? Cryopreservation is used to preserve the structure of the cells by keeping the biological material in a state of suspended animation at a cryogenic temperature for any significant amount of time. So, basically, cell cannot be stored for a long time because cryopreservation has a low rate of success due to ice crystal formation, osmotic shock, and membrane damage during both freezing and thawing. So, however, the technologies in nowadays has improved. So, and with the help of temperature control equipment and also cryoprotectant, cryopreservation can be done. So, cryoprotectant is actually a type of substance that help to prevent the ice formation. It works by increasing the total concentration of all the solutes present in the cell, and it lowers the melting point of water inside the cell by dissolving on it, and hence protect the cell. So some of this CPA or the cryoprotectant are DMSO, glycerol, and ethylene glycol. They are also known as antifreeze. So without CPA, cell at a normal temperature will be put into a freezer and undergo a slow freezing, and during this time, the cells are unable to maintain its cell membrane due to the ice formation as well as osmotic shock. So when thawing process occurs, the cell will lose its shape and die. A cell that is mixed with CPA at a normal temperature will undergo a slow freezing. So because of CPA, the cells are able to maintain its biological material inside, and after freezing, the CPA will be removed from the cell and ready to undergo thawing process. Some of application of cryopreservation is blood bank, sperm bank, seed bank, freezing of cell culture, and many more. So is this frog alive after being frozen for months? So wood frogs can survive up until 3 Fahrenheit for months. So their body's anti-freeze mechanisms helps them to survive the cold weather. So the mechanism can be divided by two. When the weather is cold enough for the frogs to undergo dehydration, its liver will begin to produce more glucose, and the frogs will store urine in their blood, and urine will be mixed with glucose in order to produce antifreeze mechanism. So in this case, urea in the urine will act as cryoprotectant. It can help tissues survive the freezing stresses. It can stabilize the membrane. It helps to depress metabolism while the frogs hibernate for nearly 8 months. And meanwhile, glucose will help in tolerating the low temperature. So hence, it can be said that the frogs will survive after being frozen for months.
Now, I will explain about the company that runs the cryonic, which is Alcor. The Alcor Life Extension Foundation is the world leader in cryonics, cryonic research, and cryonic technology. Alcor is a non-profit organization located in Scottsdale, Arizona, founded in 1972 to help bring the cryonics to the world. So the latest data for people that becoming an Alcor member is 1,401 members, and there are 201 patients in Alcor. So how much does cryonic cost? Most people pay for their cryopreservation through life insurance, which is what makes cryonics affordable for the average person. Hence, the actual out-of-pocket depends on your age and health and other factors at the time you buy the policy. To determine your own cost, you will need to contact a life insurance agent. The minimum life insurance policy coverage and amount you need to pay in cash if you were to get cryopreserved at Alcor today is around $200,000 for whole body cryopreservation or $80,000 for neural cryopreservation. At this point in time, no person developed beyond the embryo stage has been revived from temperature far below freezing. Next, when will patients be revived? It is unlikely that all patients will be revived at the same time, so those cryopreserved with more advanced preservation technology will probably be revived earlier than those with less advanced methods. The date of entitled revival will depend not only on individual patient condition and the level of technology used for cryopreserve, but also on the pace at which cryonics-related technologies improve. And so far, there is no human has ever been revived. In the next slide, there are some equipments that used for cryonics. The first one is cool down area, which reduces the temperature of a whole body patient after cryoprotective perfusion. Next is Bigfoot dewar, where patients are maintained in a steady temperature at -196 degrees Celsius, immersed under liquid nitrogen with no need for electricity. And then we have perforator. It is specially designed to penetrate the skull without harming the brain. Lastly, perfusion equipment where controls and monitors the process of cryoprotective perfusion. How soon after the heart stop must cryonics begin? So cryonics procedure should ideally begin within the first 1 or 2 minutes after the heart stops, and preferably within 15 minutes. Are cryopreserved people dead? Actually, before cryonics procedure can begin, a patient must be legally dead. Now I will talk about the procedures of the cryonics. The first step is the body is packed in ice and injected with various chemicals to reduce the risk of blood clotting and damage to the brain. And the next step is the body is cooled to just above the water's freezing point and the blood is removed. This process is known as perfusion. Then the body's blood vessels are injected with cryoprotectant solution to try to stop ice crystal formation in organs and tissue, and the corpse is cooled to negative 130 degrees Celsius. This process is known as vitrification. And the last step for cryonics, where the body is placed in a container which is lowered into a tank of liquid nitrogen kept at negative 196 degrees Celsius.
Lastly, I will explain how Captain America survived 70 years in the ice. Firstly, we need to know that Captain America is a superhuman. Captain America joined Project Rebirth worked by Professor Erskine. Captain America was injected with super soldier serum and was exposed to a unique form of radiation, which is Vita ray. These things caused a change to his body, where beforehand his body is so skinny, and when the experiment was successful, his body became more muscular. We can say that his cells mutated during the experiment. He has mutated cells, or we also might call super cells, where this cell enhance the body system. Captain America suppressed most of human limits in terms of strength, agility, durability, and stamina. His body also slows the aging process. So, he is a superhuman, but how does he exactly survive in the ice? For human to be able to survive inside the ice and still be alive after 70 years, the body needs to be able to withstand extreme conditions. The body needs to balance the external changes caused by the ice to prevent damage to the body. This is where his super cells helps him survive in the extremely cold temperature. His super cells preserve his body by having super advanced thermoregulation so that one of his system will not shut down and lead him to death. We can also say that his body entered the state of hibernation, where he is asleep and all the system in his body still functioning but in a slow rate. But how does he survive in the ice without any cryoprotectant? How does his body does not have any injury or frostbite? It is safe to say that his body might have the antifreeze mechanism. His super cells might produce its own antifreeze protein that can be found in CPA or cryoprotectant. It prevents the growth of ice crystal and damage to the cells. So this mechanism will protect him during all the time he spent in the ice. So next, how frozen corpses could be brought back to life? In reality, it is quite impossible to bring frozen corpses back to life. It is because if one system in our body shut down, it will disrupt the whole system in the body. And let's say if one system failure can cause the heart to stop beating, this will cause a fatal danger to the brain. When the brain stops functioning, or in the other word, that the whole organ in the body will shut down and the person will pronounce dead. The brain is an important organ that can control other organs. There's still no way for us humans to bring back the dead brain to work again. It is possible for the heart to beat again, but not for the brain. In a nutshell, it is impossible to bring the dead to life after the brain is dead.